moving right into our first point, using contact statuses and types to organize leads and clients in your business's pipeline. So just really quick, I'm not a huge fan of sitting on slides for too long, but I will use the slide as an opportunity here to point out that this is a representation of your sales pipeline in Top Producer X. As you can see highlighted here, you have these 5 main contact statuses: new, engaged, future, active, and closed. So just for any brand new users watching, or maybe, even just a refresher is good for longtime users as well. Just to break them down for you, new is meant to be for your brand new leads, people you have not spoken with at all yet. Maybe they came in from Zillow or Realtor.com, or maybe they just submitted a form on your website. That would be an example of a new lead. The idea in the top producer world, if you will, is that you want to move those new leads to engage as soon as possible, signifying that you have followed up with them, but they're not yet qualified as an opportunity yet. So you're trying to figure out if that buyer, they pre-approved, what's their price range, what's available on the market for them right now, all those different things. The seller, is it a good time for them to list? Are they serious about listing? Or are they just wanting a home valuation? So on and so forth, right? And so after you determine if they're a good prospect right now or in the future, you can either move them to active, signifying an active opportunity, a current client basically, or a future prospect. And no worries at all, you can move people to future. In fact, it'll probably have the most contacts in that status, your sphere of influence, just future prospects that you want to do some long-term prospecting on. Not a problem. The CRM is definitely going to help you stay in touch with them as well. But when you close with those active clients, you also have the close status, which signifies completed transaction, of course. And you can always move them to different statuses later on if they present repeat business down the road or something like that. They're never locked into any one status. So statuses are great and all, but it's really the combination of contact types with the statuses that make this all come together. So we have, in this example here, all these contacts are active, right? But you definitely need to know how to determine who's who still, right? And that's exactly where contact types are coming in handy. We see that Rose is a seller, and she also is a seller that's currently listed, hence kind of being in the active status with us. We have John, who's a buyer, but he also happens to be a first-time buyer. And so that's going to allow us to maybe target that specific group of contacts, send them some different material, right? Maybe some more sort of educational material about buying your first home, inspire some confidence in them, let them know that you're here for them every step of the way, that kind of thing, right? As opposed to your buyers that have maybe done this all before, and obviously provide them great service as well, but maybe just a different set of material, for example. And then we have buyer, investor, seller, FSBO, that kind of thing. And so as you can see, they will have active in common, but they're completely different in their contact types. And so this way you can target the contacts you want to for your mailings, for follow-up, and much, much more. And so let's jump into Top Producer X without further ado and take a little bit more of a deeper dive into this and see how you can actually use this day to day. So I'm going to log into Top Producer X. You can feel free to join along if you want at crm.topproducer.com. If you're in Top Producer 8i Classic, just make sure you click the TPX button across the top menu bar, and that'll also just get you signed in. So once again, guys, crm.topproducer.com. I'll get that in the chat here for you. I believe Dan may have had to just step away for a second, and so I will get that in there for you. So I've got the login page just in case anyone needs a reminder of that in the chat there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And right off the bat, we're on our contacts page. There's that sales pipeline as mentioned: new, engaged, future, active, closed, follow-up, coach, search, recent. I really like this recent tab. I always like to highlight it because I think it's super handy to always see the last 25 contacts that you've interacted with. So let's say you were working on, Tanya here, you're adding some notes, scheduling a follow-up, and then you get pulled away for a second. Maybe you have to check your calendar for something, and then you go back and you're like, oh, where was Tanya's record again? Well, rest assured, it's right there in the recent tab. You can just jump right back into it. I happen to really like that workflow. It's really convenient. So what I personally do, just a recommendation, is I click on the recent tab, and then I click on the gear icon in the top right corner and set it as my default tab. You can do that for any tab, actually. So just a tip, if you have a preference for what view you like to land on when you go to your contacts page or when you log in, that's how you do that. Just a second here, folks. Just have to fix something on Zoom. Oh, Dan's back with us. There we go.
Hey, sorry about that.
No worries, Dan. Welcome back. But yeah, guys, so let's take a look at our active tab here, because I always find this to be a good example. We click on our active tab. Okay, maybe a little bit unrealistic that I have 30 active prospects, but we'll just go with it. So we see here that we have Marcia, buyer under contract, condo buyer. We have a bunch of different examples here, right? And it's a little overwhelming, if I'm honest, looking at this, and there's all these different colors that are definitely helping. But sometimes we just need to be more organized than this, right? And so thankfully, Top Producer X's sales pipeline is fully customizable. You can really organize this in any way that you want. And so, for example, let's say I want to see not just my active clients, but also my buyers that are under contract with me currently. Well, as long as I'm tagging my contacts with something like you see here, buyer under contract, I can do that. And so guys, just a quick tip, if you're not sure how to add contact types, there's two different ways to do it. One is you can click on the check boxes on the left side of someone's name, and you can do this for multiple different contacts at the same time. And then click on the little tag icon at the top left here for add contact type. And then here you can add whatever you want. See, I just started typing, I barely started typing contract, and there it is right there, buyer under contract, and then add contact types. And that's going to update those contacts with that type. Another way is if you're in the contact record, you can go down to edit contact at the bottom, scroll down about 2/3 of the way, and you can modify them here. You can remove or add any contact types. And if you want to make your own, you can do that. Just anything that you need to get the job done in your CRM that pertains to you and your business, you can definitely add here as a contact type. And as you move someone through the pipeline, like let's say we close with this contact, we want to switch them to close. We want to remove any irrelevant types now. As we do that, remove this. Maybe you could say past buyer 2022, for example. We could say past buyer condo, remove this one, that sort of thing, and then save that contact. And every step of the way, as you find out more things about them, as you need to categorize them in different ways for your own reference, you want to keep those contact types updated as you move them through the sales pipeline. But anyway, let's go back to the example we were working on. Let's create a tab. Let's customize our sales pipeline to make it easy for us to service our clients individually. So let's go up to the top right corner, click on that little gear icon and do create tab. And we're going to create a tab from a contact type, which is probably what you'll do 99% of the time when creating a contact tab. So the label here is just what we want it to be called along the top of the screen there. That's all that is. I personally recommend abbreviating this so it doesn't take up a lot of, excuse the pun, real estate across the top of your screen there. So I'm going to go and name this buyers UC for buyers under contract. And then I'm going to search for that under contract, a buyer under contract type, and click on it. And so this is telling it what I want it to contain in that list of contacts. And then I'm going to go and click on create tab. And in just a second here, you'll see I have a brand new tab up along the top of my sales pipeline. It basically is just giving me a shortcut into searching for that group of contacts. But it's a lot more hands-on. I can click on this tab, I can drag it, I can move it around. Maybe I want it right next to my active, for example. I can do this as well for other things. Like maybe I want a tab for listed, right? All my contacts that are listed. Of course, we have our transaction section that lets you track those listings, but sometimes maybe you just need to see the individual contacts and make sure that your follow-up with them is good and so on and so forth, right? So I can do seller currently listed and then create a tab. And then here we go. I have a separate tab, once again, dividing my sellers that are currently listed from my buyers under contract. And these are just examples, right? You could do this with anything you wanted. I think last week I did an example of making a tab for vendors. And I had an agent speak up and said they really, really liked that idea and they thanked us for that. So for example, let's do create tab, call this vendors. And then I could make this, just contain the type vendor, or I could get more specific and say, all the different kind. I could do like gardeners and home inspectors and, that kind of stuff. I'll just keep it simple in this example though. And now I have a nice little vendors tab up here I can reference anytime. Maybe I need that that roofer for an upcoming transaction, right? I can go through here and search for them and say, oh, there's a roofer, gonna reach out to them and see if they can help me out with that, right? Make them a transaction party later on as well. So lots of things you can do with this. Yeah, so just a few examples there, guys. And you'll notice that when I click on this buyer under contract tab, there's this little feature here that says follow-up reminder. I'm a big fan of this follow-up reminder feature because it's very, very simple, but very effective. What it does is it allows you to add a custom amount of days, a follow-up threshold. So you're basically entering an amount of days to sort of, hold yourself accountable to that. So let's say I want it to remind me if I haven't taken action on one of my buyers under contract in 5 days. And I'm going to do save follow-up reminder. And then as you can see here, they're all highlighted in red now because they're all way past that threshold in this case. If I, not that I would ever do this normally, but just for example, I'm going to set it to 25 days. And you'll see now these few contacts are in the clear here. If I set it to, let's say 30 days, trying to get an example of it, highlighting some in yellow there. Yeah, so there we go. I just wanted to show you guys what that looks like. Highlighted in yellow here saying they're in that follow-up threshold. They're about to go into overdue soon. And so this way, you don't necessarily have to go in and schedule like a call task or something for every single person. You can sort of fall back on this a little bit and say, I can go off this last action and make sure that everyone's taken care of. Or even if you are scheduling tasks and call-ups and using plans and all that kind of stuff, it's a nice sort of extra layer of defense, if you will, just to make sure that everyone's taken care of up to your specifications. And I see Dan has his hand up there. Dan, something you want to add on to that, or? Oh, the hand went down.
Sorry, I was on mute. I just wanted to add, when you were showing this, it reminded me of a realtor customer that I was speaking to about their top producer. And they were talking about buckets, putting people into buckets and stuff like that. Like they were in Florida. This realtor was in Florida, and there's certain communities that they were wanting to target, and they had like thousands of contacts in their top producer, right? But they put them all into the same contact type, and they called it like, blah 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 community, right? And they created a tab and they called it a bucket. And this was before we introduced this feature of being able to create custom tabs into your top producer X. And they were talking to me about it would be really nice if I could create my own tab in my top producer, right? So when we introduced this feature, I thought of that person, and then they submitted that suggestion and we implemented it into our program. And that is one of the things that really helps you kind of keep your follow-up game focused, is to creating these contact tabs and creating all these buckets that you can just click on. You can set as a default, so as soon as you log out and log back in the next day, you can continue right from where you left off, especially with the reminders.
Yeah, exactly, Dan. And then Mark in the chat, which is asking, please show again where the follow-up reminder is. Yeah, so Mark, just on any tab other than the all tab, you'll see the follow-up reminder just up here near the top. You just click on add reminder, and then you can set this to however many days you want, and then save follow-up reminder. And then that's instantly going to take effect and give you that color coding so that you can easily see who is overdue based on that time you set, and who's not, or who's right on the cusp of that. See, if I sort by last action the other way, it is going to show me everyone that I've recently took an action on. So they're completely fine. If I scroll down, I see Tim, Veronica, and Rachel are coming up on that. It says follow up. So they're right in that prime threshold according to my own follow-up time frame that I've set there. In this case, 90 days. So I hope that helps, Mark. Highly recommend custom tabs.